Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Hiya Toys Judge Dredd 2-pack with Judge Death, I think. I don't know very much about Judge Dredd at all. I saw the movies, and that's it. So, I don't know, but you guys know if you're watching this, or if you don't care, so I don't really need to know the fiction. I just need to know action figures, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about these two action figures. It's a pretty unique set. It's a pretty cool set. It's some of the cooler looking figures I've looked at in a very long time. So let's just get right to it. Let's get them off the stand and take a closer look. So as you guys know, I don't collect this size figure, so they send me these review samples strictly for your benefit and for their benefit. I'm not into the size, but I am into action figures, and I'm happy to review them for them. They don't tell me what to say at all. In fact, I've definitely given some of their figures not positive reviews at all. But they are happy to keep sending review samples because I guess they like honesty and improvement, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I do want to note, these do say PX San Diego 2022 limited to 3,000, so I'm assuming these were some kind of Comic-Con, maybe not necessarily you had to be there sort of thing, but somehow these were related to Comic-Con, I guess. That's what it seems like. But it's cool packaging, by the way. If you like old school style packaging, this big blister is very fun. I like that. Okay, so we have these two. Let's go ahead and do a height measurement, and then we'll do a quick question of the day. This guy stands just shy of 4 1/4 inches, and this guy with his effect thingy bent like that, he's roughly 5 inches. So he's definitely taller like this. You can bend this to make him a different height if you want to. We are going to review both of them, but first we have to do a question of the day. Does looking at a figure like this, or figures like these, make you sad about collecting larger scale figures that aren't painted or made anywhere near as well? Because it really bothers me. Look at the amount, now I get that these are special editions, but still, look at the amount of detail work and paint on that. That looks really cool. And then look at a Marvel Legends figure next to it that looks absolutely ridiculous. It's freaking frustrating to be a collector right now if you're not collecting the very specific lines that are actually being having effort put into them. Man. Alright, so yeah, let's just do the aesthetic. We'll start with Judge Dredd, and then we'll look at Death, and then we'll do a rating for the 2-pack. Very, very cool. Tons of sculpt work, tons of shading. I love the black and white. They freaking nailed it. The only gripe I really have for this is the way the shading is on the feathers for the eagle. Like, the dark lines aren't up against the top row, the row that's above them. They're kind of like right in the middle, but that's hardly a huge deal. There's shading everywhere, there's line work everywhere, everything has paint on it, everything is sculpted. It's so well done. Look at the little detail on the chest. Look at the detail on the face. It's so nice. Detail everywhere. And again, that's a 4-inch figure compared to a 6-inch figure, 6.5-inch figure. There's more paint on this right here than like 3 waves of Marvel Legends. It's nuts to me how low quality these figures are. These ones are so nice. So yeah, he looks wonderful. I'll go 9.5 out of 10. I don't like the shading on here being the way it is. Hardly a big deal though. Now this guy, all the same. He's got less going on to look at, but you can still see the detail work is really, really nice. The sculpt work, some kind of line across his face. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe an error. But the detail work, the sculpt work, the paint work, everything looks so good. It's very, very well done. Couldn't be happier. And then there's shading at the tip of his ghost tail thing. I don't know. I've only ever seen Judge Death, or whatever. I guess it's called Judge Death, with legs. I don't know about this here. This is something... Okay, anyway. Yeah, he's a 9.5 out of 10. Also, very, very good looking figures. So obviously, if they're both 9.5 on the aesthetic, the whole set is going to be a 9.5 on the aesthetic. Alright, as far as accessories go, they do both come with the little display stand with the little clippy pieces. They each have one stand and 2 pieces. Death has a set of alternate hands, so we just have 2 different open hands, 2 different sets of open hands for him. And then Dredd comes with the 2 open hands that come on him in the package, a trigger finger hand, a bat, which does hold in the trigger finger hand just fine. It just looks like he's holding it at an angle, so that's nice. And his little gun that is also, both accessories are painted really well. So 9 out of 10 for accessories for both of these guys. Yeah, we could have more, I guess, but this is fine. And they're very, very well detailed, so I am just pleased as punch with this set. If I was into this scale, I'd be thrilled. If I was into Judge Dredd, I'd be thrilled. I don't happen to have any connection to either thing, but these are very fun little figures. I can't get over how well they achieved the black and white look. Like, it's not that easy to make everything grayscale and look good, and they did it. Okay, so let's do articulation. Ball peg, not a great ton of range here. The little bat on the shoulder pad gets in the way, but it does move around a little bit. This shoulder pad is connected on the body, and so is this one. But this one obviously takes up a ton of space. So, is it a bat or a dragon? It kind of looks like a dragon, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, shoulder pads are okay. Shoulders are just swivel hinges, so you can raise the arm up about that far, bring it forward and back, but because the shoulder pad is so big and goofy and connected to the body, very limited range. Luckily, this guy doesn't really need it, but it's definitely limited. Shoulder pads or elbow pads are a separate floating piece. We have a single jointed elbow, which will get you about 90 degrees, and rotation. It's a swivel hinge, so that's fine. And then the wrists are just on standard little ball pegs. Same thing on this side. Obviously, the dragon bat shoulder pad thingy gets in the way some, but that's that. We have a ball peg right here. We have a floating belt, and he can rotate if you need him to. And then this is bendy. So, and it's actually really nice bendy. It's super heavy gauge wire. So, I realize you can't really see much of what I'm doing. It's nice, and you can definitely get this in some poses. At the top, the plastic can rotate around, like it'll flex around the wire, because obviously the wire is just a cylinder, so it won't bend like that. But it does bend, even in that thick spot, so that's pretty cool. And then it stops bending basically where the black paint ends, which is reasonable. So they did a really good job with the heavy gauge wire in there. It's exactly how a bendy thing like this should be. It's very, very nice. So he's articulated well enough. It's not going to be a ton of poses, but he doesn't really need it because he's just going to have like his ghoul hands and that's it. So whatever. It's like a 6 out of 10. Practically, I don't think it really matters, but it's not great. Okay, now this guy's a little bit more traditional. We'll get a focus on him. All right, so the head doesn't articulate, just the neck with the head connected to it. So you get your rotation out of that, and it is on a ball peg. It doesn't have a ton of range though. It has some. All right, not a whole lot. This shoulder pad is connected to the body like the other guy, so luckily he's not a lefty and he can hold his gun in his right hand. Because this hand, the arm goes out to the side nicely, and then it does rotate forward and back, but because of the shoulder pad, it's kind of useless. Floating elbow pad again, single joint elbow, so you get your hinge, which is about 90 degrees, and then you get your rotation, and then ball peg for the wrist. Same articulation as the other guy. This one, the shoulder pad is actually connected to the arm, so you can raise that arm up just about horizontal, so that's really nice. And then bringing it forward, it has to flex, and it did transfer a little bit of paint, unfortunately, but you can raise the arm. Probably enough, I'd say, especially if you want to bend the elbow. It's not great. It's somewhat limited. I don't know that there's much they could have done with these giant goofy shoulder pads that are on the character design. But same elbow joint, same wrist as the other side. Mine did come with the 2 forearms on the wrong sides. So I just heated it up and popped them out and swapped them. Be careful though, it feels like the peg and the disc are actually PVC, which there's some risk of tearing, but once I heated it up, I didn't have any trouble. So if you happen to have that same problem, you should be able to fix it, no problem at all. There's a ball peg in the torso and a ball peg in the lower part of the torso. Between the two, you get a little bit of range. The top one doesn't lean much, really. The bottom one does. And they both rotate, so that's fine. Now, here's something that kind of bothers me. It's not... They got on the hinged ball peg train for hips. This is not a great way to do hips if you ask me or most people, and this figure's a good example why. It's loose. The hinged ball pegs are always problematic, and they offer almost no extra range. Please don't do that. Just trim away the diaper, leave it a fixed ball peg if you're going to do ball pegs. The hinge, it just makes him a floppy mess. He's not like floppy, but it's pretty loose. And he still doesn't have great range. You still can't bring the leg forward very well or back. They just go out to the side nicely, but the drop down doesn't help that. So the hips are not good on this guy at all. They're definitely loose. Swivel's okay. Double jointed knee works wonderfully. That's a really good knee joint. And then the ball peg ankle is basically a swivel. So that should have a hinge in it, and the hips should not. That's a good rule of thumb. So yeah, he's not perfect, but for this scale, I think it's good enough. You're mostly going to have him in a fairly static pose, holding his gun. So I don't think most people are getting them with the hopes of getting him into the craziest of poses, but they do pose well enough. I'll give this guy a 7. It's definitely better than this guy, but not by a ton. There's some serious limitations. I think they're reasonable, though. So, final verdict on this set. I love it. The whole black and white thing is executed so well. The sculpts are so good that the articulation doesn't bother me that much, and they have a reasonable array of accessories. I do think it's weird that the display stands are colored and that the figures are not, but hey, I guess that's okay. I never use display stands anyway. I hate them. So for me, this is a winner of a set. I think it's really, really cool. I'm going to give it an overall rating of 8 out of 10. I want to go higher, but the articulation is definitely lacking. So consider that. But if you don't care as much about the articulation like I don't for a set like this, then you can give it a higher rating if you want. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.